What is the craziest crime you or somebody in your family has committed? NSFW. My sister-in-law worked on a ski hill. One week there was a promotion by a company where they would blow up big inflatables, like the big gorillas you see in car lots. She had seen them blow them up and deflate them for days, so she knew what the deflated ones looked like. One day she was leaving work and one of these deflated mascot thingies was right behind her car. My sister-in-law has never stolen anything in her entire life, but at that moment, she decided out of the blue that she wanted that blow up. She popped it in the back and drove home. When I came to visit a couple weeks later, she was freaking out about it. She asked me if I wanted it just to get the evidence out of it. That is the story of how I came to own a 2-story high inflatable cow. Cousin got busted robbing a bank, got sentenced to jail, proceeded to break out of jail with his cellmate and went on the run. Fast forward a few months and he's living in a hotel room with his cellmate. Cellmate orders a pizza to the room, bad idea. Delivery guy recognized them and reported them to the police. They get arrested again and shortly after my cousin killed himself in prison. My cousin had a wife and a kid and got into a nasty coke habit. We don't bring him up anymore. My uncle robbed the bank, or was an accessory to the robbers, I don't know. His brilliant escape when the police showed up was to go to the roof and jump off. He didn't do time, just had to go to the hospital for a broken leg. I'll have to ask my mom when I get a chance. She knows the story better than I do. Aim for the bushes. I'm a peacock, you gotta let me fly. There goes my hero. My grandfather's cousin stabbed a waiter to death because he wouldn't let him use the employees-only restroom in his restaurant. When you gotta go, you gotta go. And that waiter just had to go. My dad brought in a banana tree to the US from his home village in Kerala. He literally walked through the customs with a tree in a pot in his arms. The custom lady asked him what he was thinking, and he just replied that the banana tree was from his mother's garden. The customs lady must have thought that my dad was crazy, but she just let him walk right through. We still have that tree and its offspring. Customs lady, this is crazy. Your dad, no, this is bananas. I'm so jealous. These days you can't even bring mangoes over the Canadian border without jumping through a million hoops. Have you tried hiding them in a banana tree? There's always mangoes in the banana tree. It's one banana tree, Michael. What could it cost? $10? My sister stole a puppy. Just walked into the pet store, stuffed her up her jacket. Looking at these other things, she seems a lot less bold than she did before. Hey, you want a puppy? You want a puppy. Parents can't do all the work. Do you have pictures? Nice try, officer. My aunt came home one evening to find that her son had broken in, killed her dog and was eating it, and then tried to kill her. He was a hardcore addict and it fried his brain badly. I missed 10 seconds ago when I didn't know this happened. Good times. Good times. What? My aunt came home one evening to find that her son had broken in, killed her dog and was eating it, and then tried to kill her. He was a hardcore addict and it fried his brain badly. Can't hear you. But liquor prices have never been lower. This was a couple of generations back, early 20th century, but there was this guy who was constantly getting drunk and harassing my great aunt. So one of her male friends dressed up in an Easter bunny outfit, put a bat in its giant fake carrot and beat the dude with it. He got away with it, but I'm sure it helped that half the community was waiting for the day the guy's liver finally gave out. Okay, one small clarification, the bat in the question was a baseball bat, not a flying mammal. Who would think of flying mammal? My cousin was the bread favor goat lady. She had purchased goat meat from a farm. The farm was supposed to raise the goat, butcher it and let her pick up the meat. When she arrived, the goat was still alive and had been painted with Vikings color and Bread Favor's chassis number. The farmer didn't want to butcher it because his kids were around. Her older brother is an outdoor man/hunter type, so he told her to bring it to his house and he would butcher it for her. They had car trouble on the way, pulled into a mechanic to have the car fixed. The mechanic opened the trunk and saw the goat and called the police. Imagine paying for some goat meat, ending up having to butcher it yourself, but before you can, you get it taken away and it ends up on some pumpkin farm while you're stuck with fines and charges on your record. My dad told me he once snuck into a tire warehouse, he cut the alarm and came in through a window on the roof and stole a bunch of tires. My dad, when he was much younger and infinitely more stupid, regularly used to drink drive with his friends. It was his early 70s and no one really cared. To hear him speak about it now, you can believe how stupid he was. One night, he and his friend were out drinking. They heard there was a party going on at a pub across town and decided to head over. On the way, they go past a large club with a queue of people waiting to go in. My dad decides to show off a bit and pull a skid. He miscalculated, hit a curb and flipped the car, sliding down the road on his roof. The car stops, they get out and leg it. To the cheers of the people in the queue, they get the bus back home and immediately call the police to report the car as stolen. The police knew what had happened but couldn't prove anything. My dad's older brother came home from the war in Vietnam to find that his wife had been cheating on him with his best friend. He locked them both in his friend's house and burned it down, with them in it. He held the firefighters off with a rifle until he was sure they couldn't be saved. Then he shot himself. This was before I was born, but I've seen some newspaper clippings about it. Several people asked how he kept him in the house alone. I asked my mother about it and she said that he locked them together in a small bedroom closet and barricaded the door from the outside so they couldn't get out. This was 1970 in New Orleans. I'm not gonna give away more info as it'd be easy to tie back to me or his daughter who was a little under 2 years old at the time and I don't want that. That's a bit darker than I expected of this thread. Seriously, I was thinking it would be like my brother stole a car and led a police chase or something. I stole a Pokemon coloring book when I was 4 by accident from Walmart and then cried as my sister took it back into them. That better? You're a monster. My cousin in Youngstown, used to rock people selling goods on Facebook, got caught after him and a compliance murdered a man over PS3. Good times. My dad's side of the family grew up as New Hampshire Hicks. My grandfather was stabbed in 2 different bar fights and burned down an entire country club because he thought they were too stuck up. He was never caught and went on to earn a bronze and silver star in the Korean War, but unfortunately lost his leg too. Live free or die. My friend got blackout drunk and stole a bulldozer that had the keys left in it. He turned it on and obviously didn't know how to drive it, so he just ended up making the Scoopy part go up and down for a bit before the cops came. They actually let him go too. My uncle went to prison for chaining a cop to the back of his bike and driving down the highway. Not really a crime, as in not necessarily illegal, but my grandfather had 2 separate families in 2 different cities, named both of his firstborn sons after himself, and they both named sons after themselves too, including me. So I share my name with my father and grandfather, as well as a half uncle and at least 1 cousin. My granddad accidentally shot his brother in the ass. He meant to shoot something out of his hand but missed. Drunk, genius, hillbilly shit. Thankfully, my dad married well and I turned out alright. Hold on. He was trying to shoot something out of his hand and he missed and hit him in the ass? I'm gonna need more story, or maybe your granddad is just a horrendous shot. My great uncle stole a train station, like an actual train station. Edit. Bonus crime. He broke into a local police station to steal his own paper criminal record. Didn't destroy or steal any of the others, just his own. Explain more, please. Basically, he forged the demolition contract for a local station. then demolished it and sold the material. Being the daft bastard he was, it cost him more to do the demolition than he got from selling the material. My mom's father was a Vietnam vet. He married my grandma he met while in Germany, adopted her oldest son, and they had 3 daughters. He physically, emotionally, and sexually abused all of them. When they were toddlers, he'd wake them up at 5 a.m. for PT, like basic training for adults. When they walked into a room he was in, he'd throw knives at them to check their reflexes. When my aunt graduated high school, she moved out and he lost his mind. He kept trying to convince her to move back in, and actually convince her to come home to talk about it. That day she was sitting on the couch and told him she would never come back. So he pulled a gun, shot her 3 times. Once in the hand as she was trying to block her heart, once in the stomach as she stood up, and once in the ass as she turned to run. Then he walked to his back bedroom and shot himself twice, once in the heart and once in the head. I wasn't alive, but I read a newspaper article and it was horrible. Side note, my family is really messed up because my grandma would take us grandkids to his gravesite and tell us what a great man he was. Did your aunt survive? She did, thanks. My uncle was a small drug lord in Northern California in the 90s. He had a compound out in gold country, had to drive through 3 gates with guards to get to his house. I never questioned it as a kid, just enjoyed heading up so I could fish in the stock base pond, which also had snapping turtles as a line of defense. He'd take me out shopping at the mall with a film canister full of coke, then he'd take hits off occasionally, shadowed by some bodyguards. One time, we were out for a ride in his Corvette going well over 100 and got tagged by a highway patrol. He talked his way out of the ticket, told the officer he was showing off for his nephew, and got carried away. The officer thought it was hilarious and told me it was lucky since he had a ton of illegal guns and drugs in the trunk and would have made a run for it. He got arrested when I was 15. It was full blown. Feds descended upon the compound in helicopters and swung through the windows with flashbangs. The whole 9. He was arrested, and since he was snitched on anyone above him, he was very bluntly a dead man. He took the rap, was extradited to Lee in VA to serve a bit over 10 years. All he asked for while he was there was protein powder. He got prison break and apparently beat someone near to death with a sock full of quarters for cutting in front of him at a payphone. At some point in my life, all 4 of my uncles on both sides, plus my dad, have spent time in prison for drug-related offenses, but this particular uncle takes the cake. My grandfather was often drunk, but when he wasn't drunk, he would pretend to be drunk so that the Soviet Communist Party members responsible for interrogation all those who might be opposed to communism thought and said, he's drunk, we'll question him last. This gave him time to gather resources so he could escape with my dad. So although public inebriation probably almost certainly wasn't a crime in most Eastern European countries at the time, late 40s, he would have been gulag bound if he'd been caught in his chariot. That's actually very clever. I can easily see this being part of a movie or something. I browse Reddit through the Chrome browser on mobile. It's treason if you use light mode. I got some bad news. Bringing out the axe and block. Could I borrow a hood? I left my executioner's hood in the dryer.